with Oklahoma State coming to town. Obviously, a really, really good football team. Played extremely well this year. All three sides of the ball, very talented, experienced football team. Um, it'll certainly be a challenge for us, without a doubt. So, it should be a obviously important game in the conference, as it has become over the last several years. This year certainly no different, and should be obviously a lot of fun here. Norman, Saturday night. Can't wait to play. Excited, certainly coming off the bye week and with the momentum we have as a football team, and looking forward to a really, really strong challenge and the chance to play a great football team. That's it. We'll fire away with questions.
All right, thanks, Coach. First question will go to Eric Bailey, the Tulsa World, and then Ryan Aber.
Hey, Lincoln, Spencer got a taste of a rivalry game against Texas. As a first-time starting quarterback, how did he handle the build-up and blocking out the outside noise, and will that help him this week?
I thought he was fine throughout it. I didn't think any of the good or bad, that happened in that game was a result of the build-up. I just think, like we've kind of said over and over this year, every game, every scenario, every situation is a learning opportunity for him and our whole team. And I think he's learned. He'll get in some new situations, some different situations here Saturday night, and hopefully the experience he's had through the years or through this year, and some of the situations he's already been in, he can draw back. Which, the thing for him is to continue to just trust doing his job, to trust his teammates. And not make any more of it than what it is. And he's done a good job that last several weeks, and we'll need that to continue here in this last stretch.
A quick follow: when you're recruiting a high-profile position like a quarterback, how much does that factor in? Just the maturity aspect. You can't predict the future, of course, but when you look and studying a quarterback, how much does that factor in? Just studying the maturity of that player.
I think it's definitely important. It's not always easy to gauge, but it's definitely important of how they handle adversity, how they handle tough situations, just their overall competitiveness. Are they somebody that, in that arena, wants the ball? Some guys do, some guys say they do, and you could tell the difference. But he's a guy that doesn't shy away from it. So, I think he'll be ready.
Thank you, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ryan Aber, the Oklahoman, and then Joe Bettner.
Yeah, Lincoln. What are the biggest areas that Nick Bonito has improved on since last year, and can you maybe at least try to quantify the importance of what Nick has done to what this defense is, the success that this defense is having?
Yeah, I think Nick was one of those handful of players coming in the season that did a lot of positive things for us last year, but we felt like we needed him to take the next step, and we put pressure on him and really pushed him to do the things necessary to take that next step. But I think the thing for him was, it's different being a role guy and then all of a sudden you're one of the guys. It's just a different type of responsibility, and to give you an example, if you play, throwing it out there, you play 25 plays in the game and you make 2 or 3 good plays, and it's, everybody's going to feel all right. Whereas, when you're out there you start getting out there for a larger portion of the game, you're going to have more challenges come your way. You got more opportunities, but also, more challenges come your way, and you got to be a more complete player. And I think he's done that. I think he's played a lot stronger in the run game this year. I think his pass rush has improved, his feel, when to set guys up. He's got a few new, pass rushing techniques, moves, strengths that have helped him become a more well-rounded pass rusher as well. So, and then I think some of the added weight and strength that he's put on has certainly made a difference in this game.
Appreciate it, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go to Joe Bettner, the Norman transcript, and then Jason Kersey.
Hey, Lincoln, you talked about just the challenges OSU presents, and with guys like Chuba Hubbard, Tylan Wallace, assuming Tylan's good to go. But can you articulate as a coach how difficult it is to game plan for what this OSU team presents as far as just kind of the options that they have, and if that adds anything to your defense as far as motivation in a big rivalry game where they've got to go up against 2 of the better players in the Big 12?
Yeah, no, I'd say three of the better players, skill wise. I mean, those guys are all really, really good players. They're all dynamic. I think where they present problems is just those three guys can all win. And, the only way you can, get a lot of people around all of them is to have 13 or 14 players out there. And I don't think they're going to let us do that. So, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough matchup. I mean, Tylen coming back is obviously one of the best receivers in the country. Chuba making the decision to come back is absolutely one of the best running backs in the country, and then we've seen, the talent that Spencer Sanders is and how he's grown and matured and made a lot of big plays and big games for them. So that trio is as talented and as good as anybody in the country. It'll be a big challenge for us. I mean, and they not atypical of this game, but no, there's certainly a lot of challenges, and eventually you're going to get in one-on-one situations with all three of them at some point during the game, and you got to be able to win those, and that's a situation that they put you in.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Kersey of The Athletic, and then Cliff Brunt.
Hey, Lincoln, I know that you never go into a series expecting to punt, but in a game against a really good defense and a game where field position could be important, how important could Reeves Munchau be in this game, and how have you felt like he's played this year generally?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's not too important, but no, I certainly understand the question. Yeah, no, it certainly could be. I mean, you're playing a quality defense, or they do a good job, and so. Yeah, no, I think it'll be important. Yeah, Reeves has had some games where he hadn't had to be too busy. He's had against a couple of games where we've had to use him a little bit more. Yeah, I think his good punts have been better than what he was last year. He's stronger. I think just as we watch the number of punts we watched throughout the year, I think he's hitting the ball overall better. He's had a couple ones that got just away from him where, last year he got a couple big rolls on those, and the average was maybe even a little bit better. I honestly think he's hit the ball better this year, and done a better job of, locating the football where we wanted to locate it. So I think he's improved. And then, the fact that he's done this in a lot of big games and big atmospheres and big moments is certainly a plus for us in this game.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Cliff Brunt, AP, and then Bob Prisbillo.
Yeah, Coach, what stands out most to you about how Oklahoma State has evolved defensively over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, they obviously went with a very different kind of mindset when they brought the new coordinator in a few years ago, and you could see, I mean, it's you could tell it's year three with those guys, and it's funny, even over the years, we're playing the same players. I mean, just about. I mean, there's very few new faces, even from the first year that we went against those guys. So, you've got a lot of guys that are good football players, and they've grown in the system. And I think the biggest thing you see is they just, they look like it's year three. I mean, they're not making mistakes. They're on the same page. And they've got a very experienced and very talented group, that's been able to stay, at least from not from being in the middle of it, but looks like that group's been able to stay relatively healthy, because you turn on game film after game film year after year, and it's all the same numbers out there. So they're a really good defense. They've gotten better, tribute to the coaching staff and the players there. And they've obviously had a really, really, tremendous year so far.
That's good.
Let's go to Bob Prisbillo with Sooner Scoop, and then John Hoover.
Lincoln, going back to the second quarter versus Texas, when you decided to sit Spencer, were you worried that he was going to lose any confidence or mope around? Like, what had you so confident that he was going to use that in a positive way?
No, I wasn't worried about that. I mean, I feel like I know who he is. That thought didn't cross my mind at the time. And if he was to mope or not handle it the right way, then he's not the guy that should be, our starting quarterback. I mean, that's just not a quality that would, help us or help this team. And I think the starting quarterback has to have not necessarily always maybe lowering your shoulder, running over guys, but there's got to be a toughness and a mental toughness of the guy at that position for your team, to me, to have any of that. And so, again, whether they're a big dude and trying to run guys over, or, even a small guy like Kyler that, never got hit and slide every chance he got, there's still just there's a mental toughness and a mindset and a competitiveness that you have to have. And, you got to be able to handle situations like that where it doesn't go your way.
We'll go to John Hoover with SI Sooners and then James Hale.
Lincoln, a real quick one for you. How's Spencer? How was he last week? Is he 100% this week?
Yeah, he's 100%.
Okay, so what I want to ask is about it as a team, or maybe even individually. How much do you still refer back to the early parts of the season, in your self-scouting, specifically some of the, teaching moments against Kansas State, Iowa State, and whatnot? You've always been a guy that emphasizes positives. What I'm wondering is if the last few wins, do you still have to remind guys, hey, things can go sideways. Here's what you did previously.
I mean, I think we just call it for what it is here. I mean, I've never been the guy that's going to stand up in front of the media and heavily criticize a player, this or that. That doesn't happen now. In our practices and our meetings, sometimes a little bit different story. We just try to be straight up with our guys. If they did something really good, we're going to tell them they did something really good. If they did something really bad, we're going to tell them. If they did something really smart, it's going to be emphasized. If they did something really dumb, it's going to be emphasized. I mean, for us, it's just there's nowhere to hide mentality, both for us as coaches and players. I got no problem when I screw something up in front of a game Monday in a team meeting, showing the team where I screwed it up and telling them how stupid it was on my part. I mean, that's just our mindset. And so we try to just call it like it is. We try to certainly learn, but not dwell. And whether that was something good in the past, something bad in the past, sure, we want to learn from it. Because no, you never get there. There's not like some moment where you got it all figured out. It's just, hopefully you can take the lessons that you have and apply them and just keep getting better throughout the year.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, James Hale, KREF, and then Joey Helmer.
Lincoln, Oklahoma State defensively, they've been pretty good defending the pass. So I'm wondering, with their concepts and the things they use and the fact that their safety game is so good, if they make big plays, it's usually from their safeties on defense. What will Spencer have to watch? And, what do you guys have to watch to make sure that you can control those safeties and throw the ball against them?
No, they're good players. I mean, those two guys have been playing forever, and they've really improved, and they're two tremendous players, no question about it. And they do a nice job. They do a nice job mixing up, getting those guys in the run game, but also keeping them very active in the pass game. And it's I think a credit to a nice job they do schematically, and then again, just the quality of players that those guys are. Those guys have played a lot of ball and they've seen a lot, and it shows up on tape. So. Obviously, I mean, I think it still comes down to, winning your individual matchups. I mean, I think in a game like this where, both teams, both sides, and really both sides on both sides of the ball are good. And so can be a lot of really good individual matchups out there. And there'll be some opportunities because both teams are aggressive. There'll be some opportunities for big plays. When you get those times, you got to cash in, especially against good defenses.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Joey Helmer, OU Insider, and then Gary Neiman.
Yeah, Lincoln, you talked about Tylen being one of the best receivers in the country. Obviously, you guys have a ton of talented receivers on your roster. How can some of those guys help you prepare for a guy as dynamic as Tylen?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, our players are used to going against good receivers, but I don't know anybody's exactly, can you carbon copy a guy, his strengths, weaknesses, all that. Tylen doesn't have very many weaknesses. I mean, as far as a skill set, I mean, the guy we have that's most like him is he and Trajan Bridges are their games are very, very, very similar, remarkably similar in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, it's, our guys get to go up against good receivers, but, Tylen's tremendous and does some, just he does some things very, very well that are difficult to defend. So, I'm glad that our guys get to go up against good receivers, but it's going to matter what they do on Saturday night. And he's like I said, we got a lot of respect for him, a tremendous player, and certainly have a lot of respect for the, challenge of trying to contain him.
Gary Nemig, Tulsa World, and then Keegan Renault.
Lincoln, the situation at receiver for you, you got a lot of talent and a heck of a lot of potential there, certainly. Not sure that you've got a Biletnikoff Award candidate this year just yet. You don't have Dede or C.D. Lamb, Marquise Brown, guys who made such big plays in big games the last few years. Would you feel more secure going into this matchup, as sound as OSU is in terms of its coverage? Would you feel more secure if you had that kind of guy out on the perimeter to help Rattler out a little bit?
I feel good about the guys we have. They've made a lot of plays, and I think we're getting better quickly, those guys included. You'd like to line up with 11 Hall of Famers, but it just, that's the nature of the beast is each year, you have what you have, and I like what we have. I think we're in the process of turning, a lot of that talent and guys that are flashing and doing some really good things into really, consistent and potentially elite players. And so I like the progression we're on. I like the guys we have, and I think they'll be ready for their opportunity Saturday night.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Keegan Renault, Sooners Wire, and then Jenny Carlson.
Yeah, Lincoln, after the Kansas game, you talked about how this team has had a bunch of fork in the road moments, and they've chosen to go on the ladder, to come together and do all that. How did you see this team kind of unfold this year? Was it the Texas game that really drove them? Was it after the Iowa State game and some of those personal meetings with the players and all that? How did you see this team kind of come together this year?
Oh man, that seems like a question for after the season. I mean, I don't know that there's been, like, at least up to this point, like some, big Hollywood moment. I mean, each moment contributes to it. The ones you'll notice more after adversity, or those are, I think the more obvious ones, but every moment from January on, contributes to it. And so I think the team for the most part has handled the majority of what we put in front of them very well, from January on, and all the different challenges that have come up. And they've continued to listen, they've continued to stay positive, and they've continued to grow together. And so I think those things have been, the key to us, starting to play some decent ball here towards the end, and while we've been able to hang in there and put ourselves in position to make this a meaningful football game. So, but I think it's just been constant throughout the year, and we'll have to continue to come together and fight and push to get better if we want to accomplish what we think we can here at the end.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny Carlson, the Oklahoman, and then Lee Benson.
Hey, Lincoln, you guys have won a string of games here in this series and have several guys on your team that have been part of those wins. Kind of speaks to the larger series excellence, I guess, you guys have had as a program. How do you use history, that success historically and in the short term too, when in the last few years, to your advantage? Is there a way that you feel like mentally you can address that with your guys and give them the most confidence heading into a game? I know each year is its own thing, but can that work for you in a good way?
I honestly don't know that it does. The games are so different, and the matchups are so different, and there's different, there's been different coaches, different coordinators, different guys at key positions. I mean, there's just so much that changes year to year certainly, I guess if you sat there and you had to choose, do I want more guys on my roster that have had experience winning this game versus losing? Of course that, but I don't, do you go into that and is something like that the difference? I have a hard time seeing that. I just think it comes down to how the team's playing at that point and the matchups on that particular Saturday and who executes the best and makes the big plays in the big moments. And this game has always been, competitive, and it's always been important, throughout every single one of them that I've been involved in has had, maybe been the most influential game in the Big 12 those seasons, just about every one of them. And so the quality ball has been good. There's been a lot of great players, a lot of them that are making plays on Sundays from both sides right now that have been a part of it. So no, it's been fun. It's been feel fortunate that we've been able to come out in the upper hand, but it's they're not going to meet anything at 6:30 Saturday. I mean, it's going to take all we got to play at the level that we expect to play.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lee Benson, KWTV, and then Barry Trammell.
Hey, Coach, I know you talked a little bit about the COVID stuff yesterday on the conference call, but I figured we get you on the record today since I saw last night OU announced 20 active cases in the athletic department. I know the positivity rate has gone down compared to last week, so that's good. But I know you don't comment specifically on anybody in the program with the issues, but just today, just kind of wanted to gauge your feelings on if COVID's going to have potentially any impact on Bedlam this Saturday.
I mean, we've done pretty good as a program. We have. I mean, looking for. I need to knock on wood. I mean, it's like we said all year. You're one test away from your perspective changing. But we've had a stretch here since since the first 3 games. It rocked us pretty good, and since then we've been able to steady the ship a little bit on the COVID side of it. And that's been a positive. So it hasn't, for us in the last several weeks, has not had a huge impact. But again, we're just, we're kind of living day to day. And so we got to keep our guard up and keep doing the best we can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's go to Barry Trammell, the Oklahoman, and then Parker Thune.
Yeah, Lincoln, before you got to Norman, what was your perception of this rivalry? It had a cool name, but until the last 15 years, it didn't have much of a national profile. Now it's got a big national profile. What was your impression of this rivalry before you got in the middle of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Oklahoma State, my earlier years in the Big 12 when I was at Texas Tech, was really starting to take off, really starting to get better, really improve. They got obviously the different financial gifts that made a huge difference in their facilities, and starting to get some really good players. And then my years at East Carolina, were some of their best years. And obviously I kept up with them more throughout that time, even though we weren't competing against them with Dana being over there, and then a couple other guys that good friends with in the coaching fraternity. Yeah, I think as far as the rivalry itself, I think, obviously studied it, watched it all those years that I was in the Big 12, and you could see, I mean, you obviously knew the power that OU was, and you could see that Oklahoma State was really up and coming. And then, got to watch some great games there through the years while I was at East Carolina. So I honestly, to be completely honest, before that, my sense of the rivalry, I wouldn't have been a great judge on that. That wasn't anything I really paid attention to, but you could tell it was really starting to heat up and become, again, a more important game on the national scene and on the Big 12 scene in my earlier years, and that just continued before I got here.
Thanks, Lincoln.
You're welcome.
Parker Thune with SI Sooners, and then Chris Becker.
Yeah, Coach, your defensive front has just been so strong, especially over the last 3 games, but they're obviously facing quite a challenge going up against one of the best running backs in college football in Chuba Hubbard. How confident are you and your guys to be able to contain Chuba on Saturday night?
Oh, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, because you can stop him 5 times in a row, and then with this speed and combination of speed and power, he can pop one and make you forget about those 5 or 6 stops pretty quick. So no, he's a tremendous player. He's got a great feel for the run game, great patience, and then just kind of knows when to go, and has a real gift for separating from people, and is incredibly consistent. So he's a big time challenge for us. I mean, we have played well there, but this guy's as good as anybody who play in college football.
And final question today from Chris Becker of the O'Colly.
Hey, Lincoln. I want to talk about Spencer Sanders a little bit. Having a guy who can run the ball, pass the ball, and make plays himself, how hard is that to contain, in a college football game?
Yeah, really difficult. It's one of the toughest things to defend. Because you've heard defensive coordinators say it forever. You can cover down perfect. You can have everything right, and the guy can extend plays and either beat you with his feet or get into scramble situations, and it's tough. And a guy as athletic as Spencer, it's even if you assign somebody to him, it's he's still tough to handle even one-on-one because of how gifted an athlete he is. So. No, he's a tremendous player. He poses a lot of problems for you defensively, and obviously doing a great job of it this year for them.